Welcome back, everyone, to Candid Conversations on Leadership. Chris, I'm very excited today to have another special guest. Jean, are you excited to be here?
I'm very excited to be here. Honored, too.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to take a little bit of time to read an introduction of our special guest today. So, Jean Driscoll is the Assistant Dean for Advancement in the College of Applied Health Sciences at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. She was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with spina bifida, an open spine. It affected her ability to walk and included other neurological complications as well. She began using a wheelchair at the age of 15 and started pursuing athletic opportunities with fervor. After being recruited to the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, she became one of the world's most successful athletes. During her career, Jean was the first 8-time winner of the Boston Marathon. She set 5 new course records, 5 world best times, and held Boston's fastest time in women's wheelchair division for 21 years. In addition to her success in Boston, Jean also won 2 Olympic medals and 12 Paralympic medals. She was inducted into the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Hall of Fame in 2012. And has also received honorary degrees from the University of Rhode Island, Massachusetts School of Law, and Gettysburg College. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Jean. I'm so looking forward to this conversation. I've heard so much about you, but today's the first day I've had a chance to meet you, and you're kind of a legend around in these parts. So looking so forward to diving into your story.
In certain circles, it's a transient community.
So today's episode, we want to focus on you telling us about your journey and what you've learned about leadership along the way. So can you talk about what that journey has been like from being a high school athlete to becoming a world-renowned wheelchair racer and now the Assistant Dean of Advancement for the College of Applied Health Sciences? What have you learned?
That could be a whole book.
I agree. We'll take out bite-sized chunks wherever you like to start.
Well, as you mentioned in the intro, I was born with spina bifida, which is an open spine, and it affected my ability to walk. I was able to walk with below-the-knee braces, but I've never had feeling or function in my feet or my ankles, and so the braces helped stabilize that part of my body and allowed me to walk. When I was a freshman in high school, I was coming home from a babysitting job, and I took a corner too sharp and fell on my hip and dislocated it. And over the next year, I had 5 major hip operations and spent the year in a body cast, in and out of the hospital. And after the last surgery, I was just sitting up in bed trying to get flexible again, and my hip dislocated. So none of the surgeries worked. And the doctor said I was going to need to start using crutches and a wheelchair. That was devastating to me because I had all the same ideas about a wheelchair that most people do, and I saw it as limiting. The irony is it is a means of independence, not dependence, but that was a really hard time. And when I went back to high school, I was at an all-girls college prep school in Milwaukee, and I fell way far behind. Even though I had a tutor that had been coming to my house while I was in the body cast, I did not stay up with all the other students. And so the principal of that school said I was going to have to repeat my sophomore year. And I thought, I was born a year behind my sister. I am graduating a year behind my sister. The local public school required 8 fewer credit hours, and I begged my parents to let me transfer. My sister already had transferred to the public school because she could not stand being in a school where there were no boys. That was not my reason to go to this school. But anyway, I transferred to this high school, new high school for junior and senior year. Met a kid who also had spina bifida, introduced me to wheelchair sports. I mean, there's just so much that I could say between then and coming to the university. But ultimately, Brad Hedrick, who was the wheelchair basketball coach here at the University of Illinois at the time, recruited me down here to Champaign. At that time, there were no scholarships. I just had the regular vocational rehab money, but Wisconsin would only pay Wisconsin rates. They wouldn't pay out-of-state rates. Fortunately, Grandma paid the out-of-state rates until I got residency. But I had an incredibly prolific athletic career. went around the world and found out things about myself I didn't know were in there. Ultimately, I retired from racing, tried to figure out what to do next. That was a huge transition, but came to the University of Illinois in 2006 and got into development and ultimately became an assistant dean for advancement.
So you talked about being recruited here to play basketball, to wheelchair basketball. When did you get into racing?
Well, when I was in Wisconsin, I did a little bit of everything. And so I did some road races. One of the guys I knew in Milwaukee had made a racing chair out of PVC piping. And so that was my first chair. But there also was a man named Jim Driscoll who owned a sign company in Milwaukee. He bought my first racing chair for $2,000, bought my first plane ticket. So I had a little bit of racing experience before I came here to Illinois. But when I came here, I went to a whole nother level.
So can you talk a little bit more about how your experience as an athlete shaped your views on or your approach to leadership?
Well, as an athlete, I learned about structure and commitment and teamwork. And so being with coaches I admired, Brad Hedrick was an incredible basketball coach, among the best in the world. Marty Morse was an incredible track and road racing coach, I would argue the best in the world at the time. We were the most fit guinea pigs. We had faculty and grad students coming and doing research with us all the time, and we were constantly learning. I can't tell you how many times I did a VO2 max test with faculty, but it's more than I have fingers and toes. But it just was such a vibrant learning experience. And I watched my coaches very closely, never ever thinking I would be in their league. I just admired them. I'm a rule follower, so I did everything they told me to do. I didn't miss workouts, because when you miss workouts, you don't win games and you don't win races. And I continue to be quite competitive. It's something I took with me from my childhood. I'm one of 5 kids, the second oldest of 5 kids. I was the shortest. And because of the spina bifida, it seemed like I was always falling behind and having to work extra hard to keep up. So all of a sudden, I'm using a wheelchair, and because of the crutch walking, my upper body was very strong, and that strength to weight ratio played in my favor. So I was among the fastest on the court in women's wheelchair basketball. I was among the fastest on the track and on the road in women's wheelchair racing. And so some of the qualities that I took was not missing workouts, not missing a day of work. Again, the commitment, the loyalty, teamwork. Everybody has a part to play on the team, and it's important. So those are just some of the things that I've learned.
Yeah, so you talk about structure and discipline and that teamwork aspect. Are there other qualities that you believe are essential for leadership?
Well, foundational is respect. Whether you're a leader or not, respect is foundational. And growing up with my siblings, there wasn't always respect. You learn that as you grow up. But I think that is one of the most important things in my role as an assistant dean, in my role as somebody who has a very public platform. I think another really important skill is listening to others. And I've gotten a lot better at it, but sometimes I still miss the message, and that leads to communication breakdowns. But listening to other people and really understanding their perspectives, their approach to their work. Sometimes I learn from that. Sometimes I teach from that. But those are a few other qualities.
So you mentioned this transition from an athlete to moving to advancement. What are some of the challenges that you faced in that transition early in your career?
That's a great question, and I have given a lot of thought to this. I had a bit of imposter syndrome. I was really good as an athlete, but outside of that, what could I do? My friends and peers had all gone into positions right after college. I was an athlete for 14 years, and all of a sudden, some of my friends are VPs. They've got incredible 401ks, and I had done all these other things. So that transition was really difficult. And when I got into development and advancement, I didn't have a lot of confidence. One of the things that we have to do in my line of work is cold calling. I would sit and stare at the phone for 2 hours, getting up the courage to pick up the phone because I didn't want to be rejected. I went from being a well-loved, well-respected athlete to no, thank you. That was a really hard part of the transition. But the more you do something, the easier it gets. And so I started to learn how to take rejection and take it not personally, but just recognize that there are other factors that go along to people hanging up on you or people saying, no, I don't want to meet with you. But there were a lot of people who did want to meet with me. And still to this day, my last race was in the Sydney 2000 Games. And so it is now 25 years later, and people still recognize my name, which blows me away.
So when you're reaching out and talking to alumni and potential donors, they know who you are. In some
the older
ways,
folks do. The ones who were physical education alumni, especially, or
Yeah.
recreation alumni, the ones with whom I was on campus at the same time, and I was in the DI or in the local newspaper. Those folks still know, and that's fun.
That's got to help with some sense of connection with people, is they have some idea of your background, even if it's a sort of like the Wikipedia version of your background. Right?
Oh, yes, that's absolutely true. It does help with connection. But also, I was on campus at a time when I remember some of the faculty who were working in different departments, and that also helps with connection.
Yeah. So you have won the Boston Marathon 8 times. Like that literally blows my mind. I can't even imagine that. It's like I've finished one 5K in my life. And so like, what do you do to keep motivated to achieve such consistent success?
I won the Boston Marathon so many times because I had this fire in my belly. There's absolutely a fire in your belly when you are training and competing. And again, as one of 5 kids, I think that fire was stoked from a young age and continues to this day. But what keeps me motivated is a desire to make a difference and to encourage others. I'm not sure if we'll have time to talk about this, but I've done work in Ghana, West Africa, with individuals who have disabilities. And the first time I went there, I had to get talked into it. And actually, it's a pattern in my life. When I was being recruited to the University of Illinois, Brad Hedrick sent letters and made phone calls. And finally, because he was persistent, I said, all right, I'll go down to Illinois. And then doing a marathon, Marty Morris, it took him 2 years to talk me into doing a marathon. Who wants to do a 26.2 mile race? I did not.
No sticker on the back seat of the
But
car.
the first time I did a marathon was the Chicago Marathon, and I ended up qualifying for Boston. And the first time I went to Boston, I didn't think I belonged in the race because of its hills. Where are there hills here in East Central Illinois? Well, I found them. They are overpasses, the I-57 overpass, the I-72 overpass.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Those are the only
Wouldn't have
hills
thought
with
of that.
names in this part of the country. But then going to Ghana, I had probably 3 phone calls before I said, all right, I'll go. So I have this theme in my life where if you're persistent, most of the time I'll go along with it. When I went to Ghana, I knew polio was still endemic, and there would likely be people walking on crutches, limping into the stadium, using a wheelchair. But what I was completely unprepared for were the people who crawled into the stadium on their hands and knees. They were wearing sandals on their hands. They had calluses on their knees like you have on the bottom of your feet. And I just didn't imagine that's the way some people live. They had crawled 2 to 3 blocks from the hostel where they were staying to our practice. And I had 7 racing chairs that were somewhat antiquated. Only 6 were functional, and they all traded equipment. And we did 2-a-day workouts. And for some of those people, for 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening, they were up off the ground. And suddenly, I had a mission in life to help get people up off the ground, literally and figuratively. Mm-hmm. When I manage people, that is my goal, is to invest in their success and encourage them. And so what motivates me is the opportunity to advance the University of Illinois, advance the College of Applied Health Sciences, advance my team, and to build everybody up around me, because that's what makes a difference.
So you were just talking about the work that you've been doing, the extent of work that you've done in Ghana, and if you can expand a little bit more on that, but also can you talk about how you prioritize that professional philanthropy work and your personal philanthropy efforts that you've done?
Oh, sure. My job gets 100% of my attention. I love what I do. And when I first got involved in fundraising, I did not love what I do for the reasons I've already talked about. I didn't like the rejection. I had this imposter syndrome. And now that I know it's all about the relationships with people internally, externally, alumni, friends. You get to meet some really interesting people. And I don't think I would be happy being in the office all the time or out of the office all the time. There's a nice mix, which is something I did as an athlete and as a motivational speaker. After I retired from racing, I did motivational speaking for 3.5 years until I got tired of talking about myself. But I really enjoyed the travel. So my job, my work for the university gets 100% of my attention during work hours and oftentimes beyond work hours. But my desire to encourage others, lift people up, that drives my philanthropy. And I have philanthropy both in terms of personal giving, of resources that include both money and time. And so I have done board work in the community. Currently, I'm actually just accepted the chair of the advancement committee for Cunningham Children's Home.
Congratulations.
So I am a month into that, but I've been on their board, I think almost since I came back to the Champaign-Urbana area for work, for my current position. I was in North Carolina at North Carolina State University and came back 5 years ago. So I think the desire to make a difference, my leadership philosophy is tied to my philanthropic philosophy, and it's to make a difference, to make people better, to move things forward. And one of the qualities that I didn't mention earlier when you asked about leadership qualities, it's caring. Oh. You have to care. You can't pay anybody enough to care. It's got to come from within. So if I can lead in such a way that makes people want to care or care more, then I feel like I've been successful.
That's a beautiful notion. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
One of the things that we kind of dive into with each of our guests here is this idea of personal routine and how that helps you as a leader. So are there any kind of personal routines that you have that sort of keep you grounded and focused as a leader?
Well, I mentioned this earlier. I thrive in structure. One of the things that I loved about being an athlete was the structure. I knew what time I needed to be there for workouts. I knew where I was going to be, what weekend every month during the racing year. There's a circuit that you go on, and you have choices about where you want to be, but knowing where I was going to be was really helpful. One of the hardest things after racing was that I didn't have that structure, and I needed to create it. So in my work now, I prefer to come into the office 5 days a week. Every once in a while, a remote work day is good because if I have to focus on something, the quiet is nice. But part of my structure is coming to the office, going in and saying hello to my staff members. I'm better about it some days than other days. Kathy, my admin aide, is right outside my door, and so it's not hard to engage with her. But I get to choose the weeks that I travel for work, but I put those on my calendar. That all is part of structure. I have reminders on my calendar of people I need to reach out to say hello. I haven't been in touch with them for a while. So I think my MO is structure.
Okay, great, thank you.
So earlier you mentioned several of the coaches and people that have recruited you to come to the University of Illinois when you were an athlete. Can you talk about some of the most inspirational or leaders or mentors that you've had over the years?
I love that question because there are people I have looked up to, I know personally, and there are people I look up to you see on TV or you read in the headlines. And so Brad Hedrick and Marty Morse, my basketball and racing coaches, were so important in my early transformation from uncertain kid with a disability from Milwaukee to somebody who forgets they have a disability now. I was especially close to Marty Morse. I still am especially close to Marty. He was like a big brother, but they both saw things in me that I didn't see in myself. And those sorts of people are so important in a person's life. They didn't let me settle. My racing coach, Marty, was not going to let me not do a marathon. I joked earlier, who wants to do a marathon? But he saw my strength and knew that I would be successful doing that distance. And I ended up being among the most successful ever in that distance. I am fascinated by first ladies. And I have books of first ladies on both sides of the aisle. I wish I could have met Barbara Bush. She seems so grandmotherly to me. I wish I could have met Eleanor Roosevelt. I have books of hers. I did get to meet Laura Bush briefly at a state dinner, and I got to meet her husband, President Bush, as well. Michelle Obama is somebody I would love to meet because they have an important leadership role in and of themselves, and they're married to the President of the United States, who is among the most powerful leaders in the world. And there's just something significant about them that allows them to lead, but also to support their spouses. Somebody else I wish I could have met is Nelson Mandela. I look with awe at him. I have books of his, quotes of his, and my favorite quote of Nelson Mandela's is, "If people can learn to hate, they can learn to love." Mm-hmm. It is so applicable to every aspect of life. So there are people I know and don't know who I admire who have had an impact on me.
I really appreciate that notion of having somebody as a mentor that you've never met before. You've just learned about them through reading or, other media, that they make an impression on you, and they're influential in your lives, even though you haven't met them. I don't know if I've really thought about that before. And that's, I think, a really important thing that people can take away from this.
Thank you. I think the service aspect, you asked earlier about my philanthropy, and I think part of that is service. And I've had to learn how to do service. It didn't come naturally to me. I've had to learn how to do leadership. It didn't come naturally to me. It comes more natural to some people, but I've had to learn it, and I have learned it by reading about people and then meeting people.
Okay, so let's flip the mentor conversation. You've talked about mentors you've had. What would you say to aspiring young leaders or aspiring leaders in the advancement field? Like, what advice would you give them?
When I sign autographs, I sign dream big and work hard, because I think you need to dream big. You need to see yourself doing big things, but then you have to put the work in. You have to put the time in, and you've got to do the things that will help move you toward those big dreams. I also tell younger folks, make every experience matter. Make it count. That is something I could have benefited from during those first couple of years as a staff member in development, learning from somebody hanging up on me, what did I say or what didn't I say, to engage with them, to make them feel comfortable or to make them want to engage more. So making every experience count. And the earlier you are in your career when you make mistakes, the better. Learn from those mistakes. People with experience are people who have had experiences. That's what makes you experienced. And so learning from things that go right and things that go wrong are invaluable lessons that make you a stronger professional and a stronger leader. So those are some of the things.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, obviously we take risks and you have to get messy in order to learn those lessons. You do a lot of talking to potential givers or people that are going to give money to the university or other things. But how do you approach candid conversations with people that you're leading, people that are on your team? What are some of the things that you do?
I think one of the most important opportunities I have are biweekly one-on-one meetings. And it's an opportunity for me to just connect one-on-one with a staff member, with a teammate. We're all on the same team, working toward the goal of advancing the university and advancing the College of Applied Health Sciences and its programs. Sometimes candid conversations are really positive, like, wow, you are exceeding your goals. I'm really excited for you. And I think it's important that it's a part of a candid conversation because not everybody is comfortable with public praise. And the people who aren't doing so well don't feel very good when other people are getting public praise. That's not to say that I don't praise my team publicly, because during monthly staff meetings, I do shout outs to everybody. Everybody is working hard and doing good work. But that one-on-one time is precious, and it allows for candid conversations about things I might want to talk about and things they want to talk about. I mentioned earlier, one of the key qualities I believe in leadership is an ability to listen. And I really want people to talk to me. I want to listen. I want to hear what's going on. I love strategizing with other folks, talking situations through. I would say that's probably my best answer to approaching candid conversations.
I would think you'd have this unique ability to coach your staff because you were coached for so long. Like, as an athlete, you were coached for so long. And I think athletic coaches have this special ability to tell somebody directly, this is what you need to do to succeed, in a way that maybe other leaders don't. Can you talk about that a little bit?
That is something I've had to learn how to do. I've had to learn how to lean into situations that are difficult. And it's not something that came naturally to me. It's taken many years of practice. When I first became an assistant dean for advancement in 2011, I had 5.5 years of development experience, and I was a reluctant leader. I put my name in the hat, never thinking I was going to be offered that position. And I was.
Be careful what you ask for,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I remember so many times being at home wishing I could just be a fundraiser. The management part of it didn't come easy, and it was trial by error. But eventually, I figured it out, and I made those mistakes, and I had those successes. And now I really enjoy that aspect of my job. And again, it's the opportunity to encourage people and see them grow. When you have somebody who is relatively new or even has moderate experience, and maybe they've hit a plateau before coming and joining our team in AHS, to unlock some of those mysteries and to unlock talent is so gratifying. Again, I care, and I think it's important to everything we do.
So you've shared a lot about yourself and your leadership journey. And in the spirit of Candid Conversations, even though people can Wikipedia and look up wonderful things that Jean Driscoll has done, can you share something that most people don't know about you?
This is something people don't know and they don't believe, but I'm an introvert. And I explain it by being, I'm an onstage extrovert and I'm an offstage introvert. So I can go into character and be warm and engaging and personable. It takes a lot of energy, and I need that quiet time then to recharge, to think about things. But a lot of people shake their head when I tell them I'm actually an introvert. If I go into an event where I am not scheduled, I'm not a speaker, it's really easy for me to sit in the back and people watch. I do have a shy side to my personality. I think it goes back to my childhood. You take your childhoods with you, and I've learned skills that make me much more confident. But my sister was 12 months older than me. She was the extrovert. Out of the 5 kids, she was the only extrovert among us, and I was quite happy to let her take the lead and to let her do all the talking, because she also got straight A's without studying. I had to study, so she was smart and beautiful, and it just was easy to step back. So I think the introversion comes from those early years, but you learn how to lean into certain things and acquire skills that are needed to be successful.
And I appreciate you sharing that, because there's so many other people that have introverts and they can relate to this and understand that you can flex those styles when necessary.
Yeah, I actually want to make a point, I think, of 2 of the last things you said. One was leadership and management didn't come easy to you, and it's something you had to learn. And then this idea of, as an introvert, you're an effective leader. And I think there are a lot of people who, if they don't feel a natural inclination to management and leadership, they're convinced they can't do it. And I think you're a really great example for our viewers and listeners to know that these are all skills that absolutely can be learned and cultivated.
You're absolutely right. And again, as I mentioned earlier, some skills come more naturally to certain people than others. For me, Working out hard came very easy to me. Going fast came easy to me. My parents grew up on dairy farms, and a strong work ethic is highly valued in my family. My aunts and uncles, my cousins, working hard is a high value. And so that was easy for me. I see people where that is not easy for them. They haven't had to do it before. And if they get tired or things get difficult, the propensity for giving up is so strong in them. And so I try to coach, I'm thinking about family members right now, younger family members, about not giving up and just staying the course. But leadership is not something that came easy to me. Working hard toward it is something I was able to do.
Yeah, fantastic. I do have a curiosity that I just can't let go. You said you loved going fast, and that was like really good. What's the fastest you've ever gone? Like, what's your top speed?
I did a 9-day stage race in Alaska from Fairbanks to Anchorage. It was 367 miles. It rained 7 of the 9 days. Oh. And there were 5-mile climbs up hills and screaming fast down hills. And so one day it was raining and I was going down a switchback mountain. I had my brake on at 45 miles an hour and I was sliding around the turns. It was the scariest thing. I had other friends who trained in Seattle, Washington, routinely went down hills at 55 miles an hour. No, thank you. Yeah. I like the flat roads of East Central Illinois.
For anyone who is thinking this is a sport for the light of heart, they should put that out of their minds. Right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. At the Boston Marathon, there's a screaming fast hill. I hit 38 miles an hour. Again, I would tap my brakes, but some of the larger guys, the larger the mass, the faster you go downhill. They would go 43, 44 miles an hour down that hill. But there were frost heaves, after winter in Boston, I was not going to hit a frost heave out of control if I could help it.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Yeah. So to wrap up here, what do you hope that our listeners and viewers take away from this conversation?
You said it a moment ago. The thing that I hope people take away from this conversation is that leaders have many faces, many different types of experiences. Some lead from the front the minute they're born, and some lead from the middle, and some come from behind. Leadership isn't just one way. We see politicians, we see kids in student government, but I've got a neat little story. I have a colleague whose son is 9 years old, and a couple of years ago, I think he was 7 or 8 years old. He was in second grade. And there was a young lady in his class who was crying. The other kids had been teasing her. I don't remember all the details of the story, but Franklin went up to her and put his arm around her and told her it was going to be okay and made it a point to be her friend. In my mind, that's an example of leadership. It's leadership by example. Yep. And I don't think Franklin knows he was leading in that moment, but that is leadership, just like presidential leadership or music leadership or name your leader.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jean, for joining us on Candid Conversations on Leadership.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been amazing getting to know you a little bit better, and our viewers and listeners are just going to enjoy this so much. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation again. I'm honored.